the gate is open and you are welcome to come in here and take a look. This cemetery dates back to, again, a time when West Hartford was not West Hartford. It was the West Division of Hartford. So the community was first settled in 1679, and in 1719 this area was deeded to serve as a cemetery for the residents of the community. The first gravestones date from 1725 and they go the whole way to 1869. Now there's another cemetery that's down the street from here, also on North Main Street, and that's called Old North Cemetery. And Old North Cemetery is closer to the intersection of Fern Street and North Main Street. That kind of took the place of this cemetery. The earliest gravestones in that cemetery date to 1790. So when this cemetery started to fill up, they created the Old North Cemetery, which took over. And then after that, another cemetery was built called the Fairview Cemetery. So we have 3 historic cemeteries in our community here, and actually a few more that maybe we'll do some additional armchair tours of little pockets of cemeteries throughout the town. So this cemetery is where all of the first residents of West Hartford would have been buried, including Noah Webster's parents. Noah Webster Sr. and Mercy Steele Webster were both buried in this gravestone. Noah Webster is not buried in this gravestone. He spent his final years living in New Haven, Connecticut, and he's buried in the Grove Street Cemetery in New Haven, and he died in 1843. Now I'm going to show you a really special gravestone, so you're going to have to follow me through the cemetery a little bit. This is a gravestone of the only African American to have a gravestone in the center cemetery. His name is Bristow. So I'm going to have walk over with me to his gravestone. Like almost all of the gravestones in this cemetery, have very much deteriorated over time due to weather, pollution, human interference. In some cases, there's lichen and moss all over the gravestones that make it very hard to read them. And this was the case with the original gravestone that is from Bristow. A replica was made and put in its place, so thankfully today we can read it. See, maybe if we get close enough for you, but I'll read it. It's in memory of Bristol, a native of Africa, died March 8, 1814, aged 83 years. So this is a very exceptional gravestone in the Old Center Cemetery because it really is the only marker we find that would indicate that an African American was buried here in this cemetery. We do know a lot about Bristow, and you might wonder why I'm calling him Bristow when the gravestone says Bristol. Well, we actually have documents that relate to Bristow's life. Bristow was enslaved by a family, the Hooker family here in West Hartford. It's Thomas Hart Hooker and his wife Sarah Whitman Hooker. Sarah Whitman Hooker actually grew up in a slave-owning family, the Whitman family, and their house was down the street, a little ways down on North Main Street. We know that the Hooker family owned Bristow, but that on the eve of the American Revolution, Thomas Hart Hooker allowed Bristow to buy his freedom. He didn't just give him his freedom, he allowed him to purchase his freedom. And what this tells us is that Bristow was able to earn money. He must have had some free time where he was able to hire himself out to other farmers. He was known as an agricultural expert here in the West Division of Hartford. So he was able to purchase his freedom from the Hooker family. He actually buys land in Bristol, Connecticut, and we wonder if that's perhaps how this term Bristol and Bristow got confused. We have a copy of his manumission paper, and a manumission is the document that would free an enslaved person. So this document is signed by Thomas Hart Hooker, and in that document, Bristow is referred to as Bristow, B-R-I-S-T-O-W, and that is why the decision to name the school after Bristow was named after are these stones. They're placed in the ground here, and each stone tells a little bit about somebody who was enslaved in town. So the first one here is Jude, born 1753, a farmer, and he was enslaved here by Stephen Sedgwick, and he ran away in 1774. So we have Jude, George, we have Simone, Paige, Caesar, Ben, Hercules, Chris, Pompey, they keep going, Brute, Hannibal, and then Bristow again. And these stones were placed here by the Witness Stones Project. Witness Stones started in Guilford, Connecticut by a teacher named Dennis Culleton to people who had been enslaved in our communities but do not show up in history books. And Tracy Wilson, our town historian, Liz Devine, and Denise DeMello, who are both retired West Hartford school teachers, came up with the idea of a Witness Stones West Hartford project, which would help our community of West Hartford to bear witness to the people who were enslaved in our community, who made contributions to our community, but have never been known. And when they started this, really the only person we knew about was Bristow. And we knew about him because he had a gravestone and because there were a lot of other documents associated with him. So they've been doing exceptional research, learning more about all the different people who actually were enslaved in our community and have hitherto not really been known about. They've discovered that there are probably likely 60 people enslaved here in the West Division. And so right now they have about 10 of the markers made. They work with West Hartford Public Schools and other private schools to do the research, to learn more about different people who were enslaved here, people like Jude and George. And the projects culminate in these stones, which you can come and learn about some of these people here. You might have noticed the name Brute. Brute also made the news in our community recently because he was a man who had fought in the American Revolution, and he actually died in the American Revolution. And so his name was recently added to the Revolutionary War Monument that's over at the Veterans Memorial on the corner of Farmington and Main Street. So there's much work still to be done, and the Witness Stones West Hartford Project is continuing this work. They're actually offering a free community class that's starting on May 6th. It's going to be 4 classes, and it is free, so I'm going to put the link on this Facebook post, but it's open to anybody, adults, students, grades 5 and up, and you will actually use digital classes and webinars to work with Dr. Tracy Wilson and Liz Devine to research some more people who don't have monuments yet, who don't have the stones yet, and you'll be looking at some historical documents and analyzing them, and the result will be that we will be adding additional stones here to the Center Cemetery. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to come by the old Center Cemetery. It certainly is a very interesting place for you to explore if you can read some of the gravestones, the stories that those gravestones tell.